So, hello, welcome to the Biorenewable Health Network's podcast. Up till now, we've been talking about medicine, talking about why we do alternative things, but now we're going to start talking to the people who do it. Today, our guest is Barb Eckert. She is a wonderful person, has a wonderful story to tell you about her personal experience. And most people who get into these disciplines, these wellness spaces, it's because they had the experience themselves and they want to share that with everybody because it's so profound. Barb is going to talk to us about her journey, but also about the things that she does to get through that journey, like breathwork and yoga, and even became a Reiki master. So thank you, Barb, for taking the time, and welcome.
Thank you.
Let's
Thank
just
you
talk
so
and
much.
Tell us what you got. Let us know who you are, where you are, what you do, and then we'll get into how you got here.
Okay. So my name is Barb Eckert. I am the owner of All the Feels Healing Space. So this is a relatively new adventure. I've been doing this for just about 7 years. So I'm a breathwork healer, like you said, Reiki level 3 trained, yoga trained as well, Kundalini yoga. Prior to that, for 30 years, I was a practice administrator for a very large medical practice. So the ins and outs of medical billing, creating contracts with insurances, hiring and creating the computer systems for the medical system. So I went from being the person who actually took people's payments at the window to then creating computer systems and self-training myself into billing and coding. So that was my journey for 30 years. And about 9 years ago, I was hit with a pretty significant diagnosis. I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is hyperthyroid. So what was happening is my thyroid created nodules. And these 4 nodules created a scenario where my thyroid was just exploding, creating heart palpitations. I lost a significant amount of weight in 2 weeks. And it was just it was going to be a lifelong diagnosis based on my endocrinologist who worked in the practice that I worked at. So I had very wonderful care. My endocrinologist was fabulous, had fine needle aspirations, had the ultrasounds, had the medication, and the thyroid for the initial, which were the heart palpitations, which is what we were concerned with, helped get me through that. So those first 3 months, I did do the medication and I was on that road. 3 months after my diagnosis, a friend of mine reached out to me and said, "Would you come to my breathwork class?" Now, I had no idea what breathwork was. Yeah. But something was telling me to go to this. And it was quite a distance. It was almost an hour journey to go to the class. And it was just like an immediate yes. It was like, you need to go to this class. So I kind of leaned in and I went to the class, not knowing at all, hadn't researched, and went to the class. So the breathwork she teaches is the breathwork that I now teach. It's a 3-part, very active breath where you're lying down and you're feeling your feelings. Had she told me this, I don't know that I necessarily would have gone. But it was the best thing I ever did. So that first journey of lying down on that mat and being held by Tiffany Curran, who is this just beautiful angel, I felt like I finally could feel my feelings. And I could feel the emotions that were in my throat, that emotions that were stuck. I was very much a people pleaser. I said what everyone wanted me to say. Everything's good. It's all good. And so my voice wasn't heard. I wasn't speaking my truth. Right. And so with the breath work that first time, I felt this beautiful release of energy from my throat. So I went back the next month and I was like, this is fabulous. Well, the 3rd month I went back, I screamed the loudest I've ever screamed. And I let out this, just like, I could feel like this energy just releasing. So I then proceeded to get trained with David Elliott, did a 2-year training course, 40 hours of training. Of course, 2020 hit and everything was on lockdown. Yeah. But we were able to do breath work in my side yard. So I'm going to take that journey at my 6th month appointment, now doing 3 months of breath work, not changing anything else. I was very active, going to the gym, eating pretty healthy. So nothing else changed other than doing breath work.
I love that.
Meditation
you know
and yoga.
that that's doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is my journey. This is what I experienced, is adding just that piece made me more grounded. It made me more centered, but it also enabled me to step into me. It enabled me to speak my truth, to start to set boundaries. And so at my 6-month appointment, my doctor said to me, wow, your numbers are phenomenal. Like, your numbers have gone down. The medication must be working.
It's always the medication
It's
working.
always the medication
Yep.
working. And she didn't ask me if there was anything else I was doing at that point. And so she
Now,
said,
at that point, did you think that the breath work was doing that?
I knew.
You knew.
I
Okay.
knew.
Yeah.
So I have an inner knowing, like when I'm able to tap in. And by then I really was able to tap into my knowing, my truth. Again, I was starting to speak my truth. I was setting those boundaries, but I was more embodied. I was more in my body. And so at the 6-month appointment, she said, take your thiazole and cut it in half. We can do half doses. And I thought, this is fabulous, right? This is wonderful. I'm on this healing journey. The medication is working. So I was still in that, the medication is helping, but also in the knowing of the breath work was helping. So I decided I was going to actually discontinue my medication. Not recommended, guys. I'm just telling you,
Right.
this is my
That's
journey.
what you felt.
This
Yeah.
is what I felt. Continued once again to do all of the breath work and the yoga and the meditation. So at my 1-year visit, I went and had my thyroid ultrasound and had my labs done. And when the thyroid ultrasound came back, there were no nodules. 0.
Gone.
All 4 nodules
Wow.
were gone. They were not able to locate them. And so the comparison of the 2 ultrasounds showed this. And then more importantly, the lab work showed that my thyroid levels, all of my thyroid levels, were within normal
Gone
limits.
back to normal.
Yes.
Wow. Just from breathing, meditating, yoga, simple stuff.
And creating boundaries.
You're right,
Finding
you're right.
my true self, speaking my truth. You know, I say there is truth and there is no such thing as the truth. I was speaking my truth, but I was also finding myself, finding my center of my self-love. I had kind of given away myself to please others. Again, people pleaser. And so I created this journey through breathwork, through yoga, through meditation, of allowing myself to come back and leaning into self-love. And so leading with love. So that was the biggest piece of this. Breathwork enabled me to release a lot of that stuck emotional traumas, things that in growing up, well-meaning people had said, you know, be the good little girl, be seen and not heard.
There you go. There's your voice.
There's your voice. And, you know, at the time, that was just what was said. And, you know, my parents, they were beautiful people, but these things leave imprints at a 3, 4, 5-year-old little girl. And so when it then becomes this older person, your emotional body is stuck. And when that happens, the emotional energy, because emotional energy is supposed to be felt. We're supposed to feel our emotions, but emotions are meant to be released. And so when you hold on to them, you create this blockage in your emotional body. That blockage manifests as physical dis-ease, not being in ease and flow. So breath work, whether it's a down-regulating breath work or breath work that I teach, which is a very activating breath work to release this emotional energy, harnessing the power of our breath allows us to be more grounded, allows us to be more centered, and allows us to feel our feelings. And this is something I was not taught to do, is to feel my feelings. A lot of times we're taught to numb our feelings, suppress them. We're taught not to cry. We're not taught not to feel. And so maybe we numb them with alcohol, or maybe we numb them with drugs, or maybe we numb them with scrolling on social media. There are so many ways.
Any dopamine hit that you can take, and
Exactly.
Replace the natural with the unnatural.
Yes. So coming back to myself and realizing that my breath gave me the power, and that I had been giving my power and my control away, and coming back into my body allows me to gain my power and control back. So that is the foundation of why I started this journey. It was a beautiful angel who asked me to a class, and has changed literally the course of my life. In June of 2020, I moved to South Jersey, down here to Cape May Courthouse, and I found a beautiful community down here in different yoga studios. For 2020, though, I was offering breathwork literally on my side yard.
Yeah.
People were coming and we were breathing outside in the fresh air.
Where it should be done.
Yes, and it was beautiful to be able to start this community of people, specifically on my block. My neighbors would come down, we'd have, an afternoon, and we'd be able to chat. And so it was safe. It was beautiful space for us to be able to. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is something that we really need to be offering. So once things started to open up, found some beautiful yoga studios that I'm able to offer weekly offerings. But most importantly, I created this beautiful space in our home where I can have friends and family or clients come in to this space and do a private breathwork session with Reiki. So for the person who needs more one-on-one, maybe they have a little bit more emotional energy, maybe some big traumas, little traumas, we all have little traumas, in a space where they feel comfortable to really go deep, or as deep as they choose to. What really is beautiful is now seeing this community in South Jersey, and I want to applaud you, because when you put that message out, it came, I didn't know who you were. It came into my Instagram feed, and it was just an immediate hit. Kind of like when Tiffany offered me the breathwork. It was like, yes, yes, Grady. So
and I put that out there just because I just felt it in my head and said, there has to be other people around here that feel like this. And I just went off and said that we're not alternative.
No.
Breathing is the only thing you have to do every minute or you die. Nothing else you have to do that often. And no one taught you how to do it. So
that's it.
We have people in this area who teach us how to do everything. And I don't think a lot of people know it's there or know that this is the natural way of doing things. And they need to. And that all of a sudden turned into such a huge outpouring that people were still asking to be part of that health fair the day we were doing it. And so
that was beautiful to get everyone together. So I know as one person who, yes, I do have yoga studios, but you kind of feel a little isolated and alone when you're in this space and you're trying to have your message kind of sent out, the algorithms for social media and everything. So when we all come together and we create this space, it's beautiful because we can refer back and forth. So
absolutely.
I currently work with a few therapists, licensed clinical social workers, whose clients have been doing talk therapy, which is an absolute beautiful. I see a therapist, she holds space for me so that I can really go down deep. But in therapy, we're not touching the emotional body, because in talk therapy, we're talking about the things we realize that are coming up. In breath work, we're going just that little bit deeper into the space that is kind of the unknown, because a lot of times the emotional energy in our body actually isn't even our own. You go to the TJ Maxx or the Home Depot and somebody's leaking a little energy and they may catch on to you, or it may be your grandmother or your great grandmother that handed it down to your mother, and now it's stored in your body and your DNA.
Yeah.
So when you're in that breath work and you're taking those breaths, you're feeling the emotions, but you're doing it from a witnessing standpoint, and you're releasing it. And that power to release. So I think of our body as Google Photos. We have 1,000 photos, and then Google sends you that little message saying, sorry, you're full. Your storage is full. Well, did you ever get to the point where you're doing something, and it's something very benign, and the saying, the straw that broke the camel's back. And it could be something that you do every day.
Very benign.
Very benign. And all of a sudden you're enraged. You're just, and it's because you've let those emotions build up and build up. And so that's why people say to me, well, what do you mean you do this every day? And it's because I live in this human suit. I get to interact with others. So I am taking energy. I'm taking energy from you. You're taking energy from me. But with love, because we're exchanging it in a beautiful fashion. But there are people out there that don't understand this, and so you are taking on that energy. So clearing your space every day is real important. So there is a down-regulating breath that I think is just tried and true. So when the Navy SEALs do something and our first responders do something, it kind of piqued my curiosity. So I kind of went down and I'm like, okay, so it's my go-to breath, and it's called box breathing. And so that's to down-regulate. And what it is it's a deep inhale through your nose for a count of 4, holding it at the top for a count of 4, exhaling for a count of 4, and holding for a count of 4. And it's done in 5 rotations, and it's less than a minute long. But what it will do is it will take you from that state of frenzied rage, anger, disappointment, whatever emotion you're feeling, and bring you back into your body. And it's very effective. So box breathing is one of those techniques. But Grady, the issue is, have you ever been in that state where you are like, you've just experienced a pretty traumatic event? Maybe somebody cut you off, or maybe something
in New Jersey.
Nobody cuts you off.
Never
in New
happens.
Jersey. It never happens. But then people tell you, oh, just take a deep breath because you're breathing really deep up here. You're kind of hyperventilating. Well, if you've never, ever taken a deep breath and you don't know what it feels like to breathe, that's like putting kerosene on a fire. So the practice of breath work before you need the breath is so important. And again, this is free. This is free. You don't need a pill. You can just practice expanding your belly, expanding your diaphragm. So when you need that energy in your belly, you can go and you can get into that space.
And that's an important thing. I tell a lot of my physical therapy patients the same thing. You have to breathe, because without oxygen, nothing is going to heal. Nothing's going to function right. But now's not the time to practice it after surgery. Your body is so in disarray or dis-ease that you can't learn a new skill right now. So, like you had said, the breath work, the meditation, the yoga, those were skills to get to the emotion. Well, who taught you how to breathe? 0 people in your lifetime have taught you to breathe, unless you ended up at some kind of a class. How many people taught you how to meditate? 0 people taught you how to do that. How many people taught you any of the skills we need, like you said, to carry ourselves around in this meat suit that we wear? 0. Oh, but I learned math, I learned how to drive a car, I learned how to draw, I learned how to hit a baseball. Lots of people taught you those things. 0 people taught you to breathe. You were born doing it and just assumed that you did it fine. Not even close.
Exactly.
Not even close.
We're born, and that's our first sign, right? That breath. And when we close our eyes, it's our last thing we do. And we do it 22,000 times a day. And we do it unconsciously. So that's what breath work does, is it takes the unconscious and just makes it conscious. That's what yoga does. So in a yoga class or Kundalini class, what we're doing is we're using our breath with any movement that we make. So we're doing a deep inhale as we maybe open our heart, and an exhale. So if we're doing, postures, because what we're doing is we're focusing on the breath. What does that also do? Allows our ego mind, our monkey mind, to really slow down, because we're focusing on our body and the breath and the movement of what we're doing. So it gives our ego mind or our monkey mind a little bit of a chance to rest, and it creates this beautiful state of calm and allows us to be, and that's why we have a shavasana or integration at the end of a breath work or yoga class, because that's the part where you're just lying still and you're allowing your body to then grab that healing energy. Those spaces you've created in breath work, those releases you've created of emotions, then we bring in the space of bliss, of just being in the space of receiving just this beautiful light. Some people do at the end of breath work see colors, they see visions, they see loved ones who've passed. They go into that liminal space where they can just be, and it is, people have cried tears of joy because they've just experienced joy like they've never experienced. And to be in the space to witness that, that is my joy. That is what brings me joy.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's so perfect. Now, I've done breath work with a few different people here in South Jersey, and a lot of it is that down regulation because we are so stressful, we are so anxious that we need that first and foremost.
Yes.
But like you said, once you're there, now let's create a new space to tap into emotions, a new space to tap into positive, a new space to tap into the damage that could have been done generationally. You know, the atoms that you're made out of and the DNA you're made out of had to come from, I think it's something like 4,000 people in 10 generations, because your two parents each had two parents and that multiplication gets so phenomenally far out so quick that in 200 years you have 4,000 DNA depositing relatives that have damage. So breathing, I think, is one of the most important foundations to anything you're going to do next. And everyone that I've ever heard of, whether it's modern medicine, whether it's alternative medicine, whether it's natural medicine, with oxygen, all of those things process better in the body. And doing what I do with the chamber, I have diagrams of this is how your body uses oxygen. This is why you need so much of it. And without doing it properly, you're not getting it. You're not. And thank you for coming into my life and showing us these breath works and giving us that energy. But also, too, what you just said here, I can take back to what I do because my hands are on people all day long, and I'm pulling a lot of their negative energy out to help them, and it leaves me so negative. And that might be why I'm so staticky all the time.
So interesting you say that.
But we want to pull that out of me.
Yeah. So I have gone to schools and I've talked to teachers. So teachers are in the energy of our beautiful angels, our little children, right? So our little children don't know how to regulate their energy, and they just kind of like throw it off. So I've been blessed to go to some schools and teach the teachers how to do the down regulating breath, the box breathing, but also to teach them how to teach the kids. And I've taught my grandkids this little thing. It's you do it to Satanama, and you play your fingers and you just go within. And these little tools, whether they be 2 to 3 minutes, can actually create the space. So we can, as educators, as people in the field, and you specifically working on our nurses, our doctors, I've known nurses and physician assistants who are Reiki certified, and they will go in and into the OR afterwards, and they've just moved energy and allowed, because as you're going into, say, a surgical situation, there's fear, there's unknown, there's expectation, there's all these emotions that may not be processed in the person's body. And if that person gives permission for that Reiki master to go in, it allows that healing of the emotional body to be regulated. So it's all beautiful. So it's not one side or the other, as we've talked about in the past. It's a collaboration coming together to try the modalities. And I'm going to say this, I'm just going to put this out there. What harm is there to do box breathing for 1 minute a day, 5 rounds?
Yeah.
And it may just seem like the first day I was, this is a little calmer. And then you get 6 months out, and then you look back and you're like, wait, the things that bothered me 6 months ago, they didn't do the dishes, they didn't take out, I'm able to regulate that. And that's the journey. It's just starting with these little things each and every day. It's like changing your diet. Change one thing. Don't change your entire diet.
More steps on the ladder, not less, get you to the end.
Exactly. You want to do a little more exercise. Don't start with running a marathon. Let's start with taking a 1 mile walk. And so, definitely the down regulating breath, but if you want to dive into that deep breath work, you're ready, you're in this journey, and you feel like you may be on that spiral of maybe some negative thoughts, please, I'm here to take you on a journey, either privately or I teach in group settings. You can find me, and I would be honored to hold space for you.
Yeah, and you can see Barb here at her home studio, and we'll put a link at the bottom in the descriptions of all the places that you can find her, the websites, the social medias, and some of the social media stuff is a great place to start because she has it there, and you can follow along and get a start and get a taste of it and say, you know what, I think I can do this. And a lot of people get embarrassed, especially that first time you do it, because those emotions come up and you like you said, we're taught to suppress them. And now you're in a group setting and you're thinking, I want to scream, but I don't want to embarrass myself, or I'm going to give it that deep push out of all that feeling. And you clam up.
So that's a good point. So in my group classes, I play the music very loud, very loud, and very much for that reason. Yeah. And I do ask for a vocal release from the entire group. So we're finding, because that energy starts to bubble up your body and then it wants to be expressed. Sometimes it's a laugh or a roar or a scream. And so I will actually scream along. So I will kind of be the guide. So that's where I'm giving the permission slip for others to feel that they can. So that's what my intention is, to hold a safe container for people to go on their journey, judgment free. Every emotion is welcome. Every emotion, crying is very welcome, because that really helps.
That happens a lot.
Yes, it does.
Surprisingly.
Yes.
And it's not always the negative cry. It's a lot of times a positive cry to say, holy cow, I just found that I'm okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It's so beautiful.
All right, so we're going to take a quick timeout because I do some homework and like to have some fun. And so we have two things. So pick A or B.
B.
Great, we'll go with A. So one of them is some trivia that have to do with things like breathwork. I think most of it was breathwork for this one for you, because I know we're going to do this again. And I know we're going to get into more stuff. But so here's some trivia questions. You may or may not know the answers, and it's okay. So number one, how deep is the average adult tidal volume of breath? This is pure science.
Okay,
because I'm a science nerd.
So you're the science guy. I would like to know that information.
Right. So typically it's about a half a liter, or 500 milliliters. Now, tidal volume is kind of just your regular breath. There's a reserve that has to stay in your lungs or they collapse. And then there's the excess you can take in. But the normal breath is about half a liter. Vital capacity is different. That's how much your lung could fill with. So if we filled the balloons of our lungs completely, it should be about 5 liters. So the regular breath that we take in our daily life is a minuscule amount of what we should be taking.
Right.
The lung has a capacity for 5 and you only take a half. Not effective.
No.
So I always like looking at that. All right. Question number 2. Why do you think Shaquille O'Neal has sleep apnea?
I didn't know he did. I did not know he did. So, why?
I don't know. Probably because he's gigantic and his tongue weighs 3 pounds and probably closes his lungs. But sleep apnea, do you find that a lot of people need breath work because of that?
Yes, because a lot of times people are breathing with their mouth when they have sleep apnea. So their mouth is open. So I'm going to say, and I don't like the word should, but 90% of our day should, in theory, be done through our nose, and about 10% through our mouth. Maybe that's exercise or breath work. But breathing through our nose helps us regulate. Breathing through our mouth can create that. So if people are breathing 50 to 60% through their mouth, it definitely does contribute to that.
Yeah. All right. So name a country known for having some of the cleanest air.
I don't know the answer to that.
I said I was going
to say Thailand, but I don't know why that just came to me. But
well, that's fine, because then I said for a bonus, who are the dirtiest air? So according to Google and AI, Iceland, Finland, Estonia, but surprisingly, New Zealand and Australia. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
But again, I think that whole isolation, being out in the middle of nowhere,
Oh,
nothing to pollute other than
light
themselves.
pollution, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Fiji water is the cleanest water.
Right.
And then
I
they add
wasn't
all
even
kinds of
thinking.
stuff to it.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And then the dirtiest, of course, would be your India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and then Burkina Faso and Chad in Africa because of the Sahara. The wind blows, the sand gets in the air, and that's just particulates. Bad for breathing.
Bad for breathing.
So pollen in Jersey, ragweeds, the pines, breathing becomes difficult for a lot of people.
It becomes challenging.
Knowing your breath work could help you in those seasons.
Exactly. But
Yep.
don't start the season that way.
Right.
That's where we, in the winter, that's where it's the time to
Get
learn.
your practice.
Get your practice so that when you're activated, you can go into that. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Name an animal that can breathe through its skin.
I don't know this one either. My goodness, I'm learning a lot.
So it was things like salamanders, newts, frogs, toads, earthworms. That was the only one I could think of. Mud skippers and tadpoles.
Wow, okay.
Because they're amphibious most of the time. They're underwater, then have to come out.
Yeah.
So in that in-between phase, until their lungs can clear, they have to breathe some other way.
I thought
that was amazing.
That's amazing.
I would love to. And then the last one is, what is the world record for holding someone's breath?
I don't know. I can only do like 3 minutes. So
That's impressive.
like a little less than 3 minutes. Yeah, 2:47.
Navy SEALs. If you can't do 3 minutes, they don't even want you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. And I think to myself, these guys can hold their breath for 3 minutes, and probably no one taught them breath work. They'd probably do better if they did.
Actually, Navy SEALs are taught.
Oh, are they taught?
Yes, they're taught box breathing. Once they're in.
But to get in, you have to do 3 minutes. So somehow these guys are lucky good.
Yeah.
I think they find the guys who are good and make them better.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
So there's 2 records, which I didn't realize. One is, you ready? 24 minutes, 37 seconds. Almost half an hour.
There were divers that go down and dive.
Yeah, like the free divers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They black themselves out when they come up. That's scary stuff.
Yes, not recommended.
Yeah. Now, 24 minutes is the world record according to Guinness, but because the guy was allowed to breathe 30 minutes of pure oxygen before. So basically, blood doped himself with extra oxygen.
Yes.
And then was able to hold on. Without that, it's only 11 minutes.
Yeah.
So half the time.
Yeah. So at the beginning, when I started breathwork and doing some breath holds, so with Beautiful Campbell, I started and I was like, couldn't even do like 30 seconds. Yeah. We did like a challenge, and I'm just about 244, 240. That's I can go into that space and I can really. Yeah, but again, this is 9 years, so it didn't happen overnight. But it's those tiny little steps each and every day that get you to that space of being able to do this. Yeah.
I was a swimmer, and we used to do it as much as we could, and we were 17, 18-year-old high school kids. We could get close to 2 minutes, but nobody could break it.
Yeah.
And again, we're not taught to breathe. We were taught to hold our breath, and that's why it got better. But again, I think that breath work training, even though it was for swimming, really made a big difference for me and my health. That I think that constant forcing your lungs to do what they have to do and putting them under some sort of a challenge made them more efficient and better at what they do. And that's
taking
important.
It to that edge.
Yeah.
Just taking it to the edge. So, obviously I always say in class, can you go to the edge? Can you just go to that edge of discomfort? We never ever want to be in actual physical pain, but can we go to that edge of discomfort? Because that's where the magic happens. Just going to that edge and allowing your lungs that little more capacity, or allowing your body to feel a little bit more. And that's so important. Like if you are training to go and run a half marathon or a marathon, or you're training to do something big like that, it's you don't start out. I mean, I ran a half marathon, and there's a very specific training program. You don't start running 13.2. You just you don't. So you take it in different increments, and it's just expanding your lung capacity with that breath, and then trying to keep your mouth closed while you're running and breathing through that nose. That first mile I ever ran, I know my mouth was wide open, but then I learned, and when we learn, when we know better, we do better.
And just like everything else, why would the lungs, controlled by the diaphragm, a muscle, need anything other than physical training to be better?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Wonderful. Something to get to know all of our podcast people, and I called it quick questions. So quick questions are things that don't think about them, and I think this works well for you, again, with emotions and things like that, that just giving the answer of what you're not even trying to manipulate or think of kind of works well. So some of them are silly, some of them are good, and then we have a lightning round where you have to pick. So let's see what we get.
Okay.
All right. So, what is your guilty food pleasure?
Pizza.
Jersey, welcome. What modern medicine can you not live without? You know, we all get into alternative, but medicine still has its place.
So I do take supplements each day. Vitamin D is very important. So that would be vitamin D and magnesium and a multivitamin, the only thing I take every day, and it's real important for me to keep my vitamin D.
Good. Where's the coolest place you ever meditated? And I don't mean cold, I mean like awesome.
Awesome place.
Yeah, where's the most awesome place you meditated?
I've ever meditated. I want to say recently in the Redwoods up by Mount Shasta.
Ooh.
So I was blessed to go to Mount Shasta and meditate by Ascension Rock, and then go to the Redwoods and meditate with the trees and literally tap into the trees. It was beyond amazing and magical.
Yeah, and the space you have here and the spaces you go to at the yoga studios, that I think that's a big important part. Anytime you want to do breathwork, yoga, or meditation, is you have to have a space that feels comfortable to you.
It has to feel safe to you.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, the space that may feel safe to me may not feel safe to you.
Right.
So, I'm going to recommend, try yoga studios, try different teachers, because for yin yoga, you may try me, you may try someone else, and I might vibe with you, I might not, and I don't take offense. I don't take anything personally. So
we shouldn't, because
4 agreements. There you go.
I always say there's chocolate and vanilla ice cream, and chocolate doesn't change because you like vanilla.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. All right. What do you buy every time you take a trip or go shopping that is alternative? Like, I can't pass that up.
I don't know if it's alternative, but fruits are very important. So organic fruits, that's the first thing I go to in wherever shop I am, is definitely. But then if I get to Trader Joe's, which we don't have in South Jersey, it's
they keep saying it's coming. We'll see what
happens.
happens.
Tried. I've sent some petitions. Let's see.
Do you sing in the shower?
I do.
I figured you would.
Absolutely.
And this one I figured you would too. Do you go barefoot in the dirt and the grass?
You mean people don't?
We're sitting here without them on anyway.
That's how you ground. So that's
exactly.
how you just. So I'll go out to the bird feeders. I did go out to the bird feeders the other day with boots on because
chilly.
it's snowing
it's
here. But I'll go out to the bird feeders and the hummingbird feeders, and it makes me feel very grounded.
It'd be Titus out there with his bare feet, and it's like, it's getting a little cold. What's your favorite sleep routine?
So I definitely, I'm the type of person who I can go to sleep very easily. So what I'll do is I'll get in bed and I will do 2 to 3 rounds of box breathing. So I will down-regulate my body and get myself into that space where I can and I go to sleep like this. So the other thing is 3 a.m. Some people get that wake-up call. They maybe need to use the restroom. That's the other time I do the down-regulating box breathing so that I can kind of get back into that state of sleep. I sleep minimum 7.5, if not 8 hours a night. For me, it's a requirement.
And again, I think that breathing, meditation all ties into getting a better night's sleep. And I am the first person to say I am guilty as all heck of not doing it. And pay for it. What is the one alternative item you would like to own that you don't?
I would love to have a red light sauna in my home. That would be like, oof. That would be a dream.
Well, you can certainly come and use it anytime you want.
Yes. But to have it in my home.
You said definitely is a difference.
To own. Yeah.
All right, so now it's the lightning round. Are you ready? This is going to be boom, boom.
Okay.
All right.
Wait, let me take a deep breath.
The clock is starting now. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Carnivore or vegan?
Carnivore.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Alkali or neutral water?
Neutral.
Meditate or jog?
Meditate.
Cold plunge or sauna?
Sauna. Well, both.
What did I say?
I do breathwork and cold plunge, and it's phenomenal.
Sound or light therapy?
Sound.
Beach or bay?
Beach.
Ski or surf?
Surf.
Movie or book?
Book.
Cardio or strength training?
Cardio.
Cat or dog?
Cat.
But you like them all.
I do.
So you're I love them all.
I love them all. They're just so beautiful.
Sourdough or multigrain?
Sourdough. Oof.
All right. Done. Well, so that's Barb Eckert. Like I said, you can find her information in our descriptions. And if you need her, give her a call. Because like I said, I've done breath work with people, and this is different. This taps into emotion. And not that the other breathwork people aren't doing that, but Barb really gets it in there and makes sure that it works for you. So thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for being our first guest on the podcast. And I think this is going to launch us. We'll definitely be back because I want to show people how we do the breath work. I want to demonstrate that and also kind of get into more of that emotional release and how it ties into other things, but also your journey, because it's not over.
No.
You're still doing it. You can't just stop
every
and
day.
go back to junk and not breathing and everything, and it's going to just grow more and more and more, especially in these coming years. I think a lot of people are going to find a lot of things and connect, and I think you're going to find a lot of places where it's needed that you haven't found, and hopefully this is kind of a launching pad for that.
Well, I want to thank you for creating this, because that first, it was 40 vendors coming out, and I got to meet so many beautiful people. Yeah. I found my primary care doctor, Dr. Roberts, through that, and it was just such a beautiful event. But again, it made us feel like there's a group. This is a movement. This is something. It was in like the little outside, and now you've brought it to that forefront. So I want to applaud you for like really sticking your neck out and really just like, I'm going to do, stepping into yourself, stepping into your truth. I love it.
And that's typical of me going, I don't have any free time. Let's do this too. That's gigantic.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't see not doing it, because I'm tired of the system not being there for people and denying them what we should be doing at the basic level. Yeah. You know, this stuff should be taught in kindergarten. Yeah. If it even took that long to teach.
So again, Dennis Township, Margate Schools, they're teaching, I've gone in, they're teaching down-regulating breath to the kiddos. And it was so beautiful to get a video of them doing the little, all had their headphones on, and they just were playing their fingers for 1 minute. And the teachers have come back and said, that was fabulous. It down-regulated the class, and it gave a moment of quiet. So yeah, we are seeing it. We are seeing it.
And creating an environment and taking the 1 minute to do that, that doesn't take effort, and it's not any more costly than whatever the heck you were doing otherwise.
Great example, especially in this winter cold, is you start your car, right? Especially as a teacher, or you're coming home from work. Do a couple of rounds of box breathing.
You have to wait for it to warm up.
You have to wait for it to warm up. You
That's a good idea.
Release a lot of that energy, and you're going to go home to your loved ones, to your fur babies, and you're going to be in a better regulated state. So when you do the healing, you vicariously give others that beautiful space.
You're right.
So
you're right. You could be mad and angry, or you could be happy.
Yeah. But I do want to give you a little gift.
Okay.
So let me just run over here. So I know you had said to me, what is your favorite fortune cookie? And so I'm not a fan of fortune cookies. I'm just going to tell you, just not a fan. So instead, what I do is at the end of each breathwork class is I offer a dark chocolate from Dove to every participant. Dark chocolate is very grounding. It allows you to really come back into your body after you've gone on this journey. And it was interesting that you had said that. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to actually share this beautiful, because they all have sayings, this beautiful saying. It said, celebrate the luxury of being you. And I've carried this for probably about a month now in my bag. And I have students who come to my class pretty regularly. And one of them opened up her journal, and she had like 5 or 6 of these in her journal. And I thought, oh, Jen, you have my heart, that's for sure. But I want to thank Dove Chocolate for giving the little fortunes. So,
yeah.
you know,
well, it's funny because I have a list of about this long of just fortunes from college till now taped together in a big old thing, and I keep it going because every time we do Chinese food with the girls, and I look at it, and some of them you look at and go, but other ones you look and go, look at this, look,
Exactly.
look, this is a good one, this is a good one. Yeah. And it's silly little inspirations like that give you that quick little boost when you need it.
Yeah.
So
And it makes you smile.
And
It makes
I
you
will
smile.
say you're right. Dark chocolate will be better than a fortune cookie.
Yeah, it has a little bit of a better taste, but it's just a reminder. It's kind of taking the pause and reminding ourselves that, you know,
Well,
again,
like
a smile
Like
or
it
a breath.
says, you're worth it. You know.
You are.
I always tell people when it comes to physical therapy that Richard Simmons to me was the greatest because he took on the most difficult cases, and the first thing he started with was, okay, day number 1, get your sneakers and put them by the front door. And the people would do it, and they'd go, okay, now what? He goes,
Good job.
gold star, pat on the back.
Good job.
They need that emotional boost to keep them going, achieve the goal, the little steps more than the big steps. So,
Yeah, it's
all right,
those
let's
one
see.
little things. What does yours say?
you couldn't have planned this any better.
It was wrapped. It was
Exactly, that's
wrapped.
what I'm saying. That was good. Now back to the hustle. Are you kidding me? That's what it says. Barb, love you.
I love you too. This
Thank
is
you
so
so much.
beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Always welcome. Always welcome to the
Absolutely. I
home
love this
studio
space.
or
Mhm.
anywhere else. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.